people. It's the first behind-the-scenes video of our investigations. So this one is going to be for Wunsche Cemetery, which you just saw on Tuesday. So we just wanted to take a little bit, talk a little more in depth about the investigation. More than we can go into when it comes to our investigation videos, which we, generally want to keep evidence only. And then this will be more of a conversational type video. So I guess we're just going to get into it. So Wunsche Cemetery was not supposed to be our first stop as a paranormal crew. Our first stop was supposed to be Powder Mill, but we have a video on why that wasn't our first stop that you'll see in a couple weeks. So we don't really need to go into that, but let's talk about Wunsche Cemetery.
Well, Wunsche Cemetery was a shoot and an intended miss. We investigated it because it was near the powder mill that we had gone to. It was near where we had gone to dinner, and we knew it was a cemetery. Online, we didn't find a lot of locations that we could investigate all in one night, because in the first night we were planning on doing a lot of different investigations. So we said, hey, we're just going to hit this place and hope for the best. And we hit there with absolutely no idea what we were going to get, with really the intention of getting nothing. It was next to a highway, so audio contamination was a thing. It's just a random cemetery with no reportings of hauntings, so didn't expect to get anything there. We just went and said some stuff, kind of just to test our equipment, I think.
Yeah, it was a pretty good test run for us, about what questions we needed to ask, how we wanted to set up with our audio recorder, stuff like that. But turns out that we actually got one of the most convincing pieces of evidence, in my opinion. Of course, Benny being Benny has a very big problem with me saying that was conclusive evidence. So let's just go ahead and get into it, Benny. We've been arguing about this for a while. Just go ahead, give your side of the story, and then I'll give my. I'll interrupt.
Okay, well, I'm going to start off by saying that I'm going to start off with a simple piece of argument that I think a lot of people who watch the videos are going to have the same argument, is that the audio recording that we claim sounds like my name doesn't really sound like my name.
Wait a second, did you just say Benny?
When I heard, don't get pissed off. I'm going into the whole detail. Relax. I saw that eye roll. So when I was out there, I heard a voice come through the spirit box, and I made a joke. Was like, "Did you say Benny?" Jokingly.
Jokingly, still provoking.
Kind of jokingly, it sounded a little like it at the time. So at that point, we noticed the scratch on Connor's leg, which we're going to get into it a little bit, and that's going to be the bulk of this video. It's just the argument about the scratch. Yeah. But anyway, we went back and we listened to the recording when we got back to Connor's house that night. We plugged it in, we isolated the audio, listened to it. It was over 100 milliseconds, so that was interesting. It came through, and for the first little bit, I 100% heard my name coming through. Then I got up, went and got myself a soda, came back, listened to it again, and I couldn't hear my name to save my life. It came through as a... And,
Exactly like that. Well,
yeah. It's like a very poor Sylvester Stallone impression.
So yeah, I will say it's not as clear as some other evidence that we've gathered.
But one thing I'm going to say in your favor, but it's also totally a knock on you, is on the first night of using the ghost equipment, we had no idea how to use it. And we took an audio recorder and set it next to the spirit box to get clear audio from the spirit box. And Connor accidentally deleted the audio from Wunsche, so the audio that comes through on the camera is probably not as clear, which means that maybe on the audio recorder it sounded more like my name. That's something we won't know,
I still do hear.
And you said the voice came through again, right?
There were two voices, which I think, at the very least, makes it more likely that they are both spirit voices. But I will, I could, concede that the first word that came through was not Benny, but it does sound like it to me. So, you know what? I'm gonna give my side of the story first. And Wunsche Cemetery, you and I disagree on the height of the grass. We've looked at pictures. I've driven past it a couple times going to your concerts. So I have seen the location since, and I still do not believe that the grass was anywhere tall enough to scratch me. Your assertion is that I had to have scratched myself at some point earlier in the day or night, correct? So
that is the most likely of the three explanations I have.
Okay, so what are your three explanations? The scratched at some point during the day.
So number one, most likely to me, is that you scratched yourself at some point. Because I will give you this, it does look like a little bit like fingers. It's interesting because it also would look like, how is it? Like this? Is this how the fingers? Yeah, this is how the scratch would have been.
I don't want to say what that looks like. That'll get us demonetized.
Yeah, but simultaneously, that's more like this. not this. But anyway, because like one finger scratch is way off. But anyway, there's a possibility you scratched yourself. Because, if we go through the tall grass at Powder Mill, there were bugs and stuff there. It's a possibility. I also think that now these two are of equal likelihood, so I don't know which one to say next. I'm going to go with Powder Mill, tall grass. But aside from tall grass, and this is something that we can probably come back to when we talk Powder Mill, because it's something that I discovered at Powder Mill when we actually investigated it. On that little thing that you walk down the embankment just to check it out, there was a bunch of branches aside from the tall grass, and I think you could have clipped a branch. Now my third explanation is one that was actually brought up to me by somebody else. That's really interesting, and that's that these are old tombstones in the cemetery at Wunsche. This one's a little bit harder because I don't recall this happening, but there's a small possibility because we weren't paying that much attention. There's a small possibility you could have clipped the tombstone at some point. They're jagged. They could have left a mark. Again, this is probably the least likely of my three explanations, just because it would be really impressive if a tombstone. But well, okay, yeah, but like, so is a ghost.
I'm sorry. I don't understand how I can go through an entire day without noticing a scratch. This is what, 5 hours, 6 hours?
No. We got to Powder Mill at around 7.
Okay, so 3 or 4 hours then.
3 hours.
I highly doubt that I would not notice a scratch for 3 hours and then in front of you feel first a stabbing sensation and then burning as it's going up my leg, and then notice that 3 hours later, which also just happens to be 5 minutes before it almost completely disappears. It almost completely, because there was one part where something broke skin that was still there.
Okay, well, anyway, ignoring that aspect, I just want to bring up something that's not necessarily an argument, but more of just a point, something that I think you could agree on. In any other situation, if I presented you with two options here, I said, here's something natural and here's a ghost, would you say the natural explanation or the ghost is the reach?
That depends on so many factors.
Never mind. You're the wrong person to ask this question to. You're gonna say ghost is fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, anyway.
We're never gonna agree on this. Let's just call it. I hope you guys enjoyed the Wunsche episode. It's our first.
No. I have another thing to say. I have another thing to say.
All right, say it.
No, this is just a comment because I think it's so funny to me. This is something that I've said to you a million times because I think it's hilarious. So there has been an argument presented, one that I think is extremely far-fetched, along with the ghost explanation. But there's been an opinion by some, more than one person has suggested demon. And I think that's fascinating to me. And don't argue with me because I just want to make the funny point here.
Okay.
Demon scratch is 3 scratches, which is a mocking of the Trinity, which is something that is demonic according to studies. But anyway, what I think is really funny to me is that demons prey on those who are more susceptible and those who are more welcoming to them. And during this whole point, I was screaming, "Possess me, throw me into the highway," like a minute before you got scratched.
All right, we're still out here. Our camera's dying, and so is any belief that I might have had in ghosts. So if anybody wants to prove me wrong, shove me over, walk me into the fucking highway. Do it.
I said, "Possess me, take me to Taco Bell," which, by the way, fun note, we did eat Taco Bell later in the evening, so like maybe I was possessed. But what's really funny to me is I'm the one provoking whatever's out there and you're the one who gets attacked. I think that's so funny.
Yeah, it's kind of bullshit, but you know what? Paranormality, that's a stupid word. Paranormal beings work in mysterious ways.
But yeah, so the most interesting thing, in my opinion, is that I said, "Possess me and take me to Taco Bell and make me get a cheesy gordita crunch." We did not get to Taco Bell during lunchtime. We got there during breakfast, so I did not get a cheesy gordita crunch. But I feel if I'm too specific, I ignore the possibility of being possessed.
All right. Well, anyway, I love how that's the most interesting part of the investigation to you. But obviously we disagree.
I got fed.
Anyway, we're gonna call this behind the scenes video. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. It was our first one on YouTube, and keep checking back for some more episodes. We'll get nice face. We'll get a new episode.
Thank you.
We'll get a new episode out every Tuesday, every Thursday, one of these behind the scenes videos. So guys, thanks for watching. Catch us next time. Okay, so we just finished our wrap-up of Old Greenhouse, and Benny pointed out, I don't really know if you can see it well on camera, but those are definitely fingerprints.